Helena, an arrogant and unbeatable foreign boxer, belittled Gabriela, a Brazilian rookie with no experience, but with a fire in her eyes that no one could ignore. In the ring, under the gaze of a fervent crowd, Gabriela turned contempt into fuel and delivered a fight so visceral that it silenced the entire gym, leaving an eternal mark on the history of boxing. Like the video and tell us which state you're watching from. I'll never forget the way Helena looked at me that day, as if I was a stone in her path, something she could kick effortlessly. Her blue eyes, cold as ice, measured me from top to bottom as she adjusted her gloves in the locker room. "You're the Brazilian rookie, aren't you? Good luck, girl. You're going to need it," she said, a crooked smile that dripped with sarcasm. The gym pulsated with the noise of the crowd outside, but there, at that moment, the silence between us was deafening. My heart was beating so hard that I could feel the blood pulsing in my temples. I tried to answer, but my voice came out weak, a murmur that barely made it through the humid air of the locker room. "I just want a fair fight," I managed to say, holding her gaze. Helena laughed, a short, sharp laugh as if I had told a bad joke. "Fair? Honey, this is not charity. It's my ring." She turned her back, her blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail wagging as if dismissing me. My coach, Dona Tsida, put her hand on my shoulder, her eyes full of a confidence I didn't feel. "Let her talk, Gabriela. The ring doesn't lie." The smell of sweat and liniment hung in the air, mixed with the distant echo of the cheers of the crowd. I tightened the bandages in my hands, feeling the rough fabric against my skin, trying to convince myself that I belonged here. I was the zebra, the 22-year-old girl from the interior of Maranhão, who had never stepped into a professional ring until 6 months ago. Helena, on the other hand, was a machine. European champion, 28 fights, 26 knockouts. Everyone in the gym knew I didn't stand a chance. Except me. I ran my fingers through the St. George's cord that my mother gave me before she died, hanging around my neck. "You're stronger than you think, Gabby," she said. The memory of her voice ignited something in me, a spark I couldn't name. As I laced up my sneakers, I promised myself that even if I fell, I would fall fighting. The announcer announced our names, and the roar of the crowd hit me like a wave. Helena was already on her way to the ring, the spotlight dancing on her as if it were rightfully hers. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment, and headed towards the light, heart in my throat. The gymnasium was a melting pot of voices, lights, and heat. The crowded stands vibrated with posters and flags, most with Helena's name written in large letters. I blinked against the bright light of the spotlights, feeling the canvas floor beneath my feet shake with the energy of the crowd. "Finish her, Helena," shouted someone in the audience, and the chorus spread like wildfire. My breathing quickened, but I kept my chin up, even as I saw Helena step into the ring with a confident smile, waving like a queen. "Are you ready, Gabby?" Dona Tsida asked, holding my face with calloused hands. Her brown eyes shone with a mixture of pride and concern. "Don't listen to these people. Listen to your heart." I nodded, but my stomach was churned. I looked out over the crowd and saw unfamiliar faces, some with pity, some with disdain. No one there believed in me except Dona Tsida and perhaps myself. Helena slammed her gloves against each other, the sound echoing like small thunder. "Last chance to quit, rookie," she said loud enough for the corner of the ring to hear. The referee, a man with a serious face and gray hair, gave her a warning look, but Helena just shrugged. I felt the heat rise up my face, a mixture of anger and shame. "I didn't come here to give up," I replied, my voice finally firm. The gong sounded and the world seemed to slow down. Helena advanced like a panther, her feet dancing on the canvas with a precision that made me gulp. I raised my fists, trying to remember everything Dona Tsida taught me. Keep my guard up, move my feet, don't let her corner me. But the truth is that I was terrified. Her every step was a threat, every look a promise of destruction. The first punch came quickly, a jab that sliced through the air and landed my shoulder. The pain exploded, but I remained standing, dodging the next blow by instinct. The crowd roared and I knew they weren't cheering for me. Still, something inside me refused to budge. I wasn't just the rookie. I was Gabriela and I was there to fight. Helena was ruthless. His blows came like a storm, fast and precise, each one testing my defense. I blocked what I could, but a right hook caught my chin, making my head spin. The metallic taste of blood filled my mouth and for a second the world became blurry. "Is that all you have, Brazilian?" Helena screamed, her voice full of contempt. The crowd laughed and the sound cut me deeper than the punch. I retreated, trying to catch my breath. My arms trembled, but I kept my guard up, my eyes fixed on hers. There was something about the way she moved, so assured, so arrogant, that ignited an anger I had never felt before. "You're nothing," she said, moving forward again, but this time I saw the blow coming. I dodged to the left and threw a shy jab, which barely grazed her shoulder. Helena laughed. "Pathetic." Donut Sita shouted from the corner, "Move, Gabby. Use your feet." I obeyed, dancing to the side, trying to find a loophole. But Helena was like a shark, smelling my fear. She cornered me against the ropes, and an uppercut came so fast that I only felt the pain when my head hit the canvas. The crowd erupted in applause, and I saw stars dancing on the ceiling of the gymnasium. The referee began the countdown, his voice cutting through the noise. 1, 2, 3. I rolled to the side, heart racing, St. George's cord cold against my skin. I thought about my mother, the way she smiled even on bad days. "Get up, Gabby," I muttered to myself, and with an effort that seemed to rip my soul out, I stood on the 7. Helena raised an eyebrow, surprised, but soon smiled again. "Stubborn, huh?" The bell sounded, ending the round. I staggered to my corner, my face burning, my body screaming. Donut Sita threw water on my face and held my chin. "You're alive, girl." And that's more than she expected. Now he breathes and comes back with everything. I nodded, feeling the weight of the cord around my neck. It wasn't over yet. In the second round, something changed. Maybe it was the blood in my mouth, the echo of Helena's laughter, or the memory of my mother telling me to never give up. I returned to the ring with clenched fists and a determination that burned more than pain. Helena noticed the change. His eyes narrowed and the arrogant smile wavered for a second. "Ready to fall again?" she teased, but this time I didn't respond with words. I moved forward, keeping my feet light as Donut Sita had taught. Helena threw a jab, but I dodged, feeling the air displaced by the punch pass through my face. For the first time I saw a breach. I threw a left hook and my fist hit the side of her face. It wasn't strong, but it was enough to make the crowd let out a surprised ooh. Helena retreated, her face red where my punch landed. "You're going to pay for it," she growled and came with everything. His blows were furious now, less calculated, more savage. I blocked 1, 2, but the third caught my stomach, taking my breath out. I bent over, panting, but kept my eyes on her. "Is this what you call a fight?" she said, laughing, but there was a new tension in her voice, something that hadn't been there before. The crowd began to change. Among the cries of support for Helena, I heard isolated voices. "Go, Brazilian!" My heart jumped. Someone believed me. I straightened up, ignoring the pain, and threw a hook that grazed her chin. Helena staggered, just one step, but it was enough to make me believe. I could do that. The bell sounded, and I returned to the corner with my chest heaving, but with a new fire in my eyes. Donut Sita smiled, wiping the blood from my lip. "See? It is not made of iron. Keep it up, Gabby." I nodded, feeling St. George's cord swing against my chest. For the first time I felt that the ring was also mine. In the third round, the gym seemed more alive, as if the energy of the crowd had been divided. Helena no longer smiled. His eyes were focused, hard, as if I had stopped being a joke and become a threat. She was advancing cautiously now, her fists raised, her body tense. I felt the weight of every movement, the sweat running down my forehead, but I also felt something new. Hope. "Do you think a lucky punch changes anything?" she said, her voice low, almost a growl. I didn't answer. Instead, I moved my feet, circling the ring, keeping her in my sights. She threw a hook, but I was ready. I dodged and countered with a jab to the face, followed by a hook to the body. Helena grunted, the sound muffled by the mouth guard, and retreated. The crowd erupted, and this time the screams were for me. "Gabriela! Gabriela!" My name echoed through the stands, and every syllable was like fuel in my blood. I saw Helena's face contort, not with pain but with anger. She wasn't used to that, to being challenged, to being seen as less than invincible. I knew I couldn't relax. Helena was dangerous, and one mistake of mine would be the end. She came with a string of punches, each faster than the other, forcing me against the ropes. A blow hit my rib and the pain made me gasp, but I remained standing, blocking the next punch with my forearm. "You're stubborn, I admit," she said, panting. "But stubbornness doesn't win fights." The gong saved me again, but this time when I returned to the corner, the crowd was with me. Donut Sita held my face, her eyes shining. "You're making history, girl. Keep believing." I nodded, my chest filled with an emotion I couldn't name. The ring was no longer hers alone. It was ours. In the fourth round, I felt the fatigue weigh on my arms, on my legs, on every fiber of my body. But I also felt the fire, the anger, the desire to prove that I wasn't the rookie everyone thought. Helena, on the other hand, seemed less precise, her strokes slower, her face marked by frustration. "You're me off, you know," she said as we circled the ring, eyes locked. I didn't answer. My energy was in my fists, in my feet, in controlled breathing. I threw a jab which she blocked, but followed up with a hook that hit her chin hard. The crowd roared and Helena staggered, her eyes wide for a second. I saw the opening and went all out, a right hook that caught the side of her head. The gym erupted in screams. Helena stepped back, her face red, her breathing heavy. "Do you think that's enough?" she shouted, but her voice trembled. She moved forward, desperate, throwing a sequence of punches that I could barely block. An uppercut grazed my chin and the pain made me grit my teeth, but I didn't fall. Instead, I responded with a jab to her nose, and a trickle of blood ran down her face. The crowd was on its feet now, the gym vibrating with an energy that seemed to burst through the walls. I heard my name, but I also heard the echo of my mother's voice. "You are stronger than you think." I believed her. For the first time, I really believed. The bell sounded, and I went back to the corner with my heart racing, but with a certainty that I didn't have before. Donut Sita handed me the bottle of water, her eyes full of tears. "You're making her tremble, Gabby. It's making the world tremble." I smiled, feeling the hot St. George's cord against my skin. I was alive, and he was fighting. As the 5th round began, I felt the weight of everything that brought me there. Every exhausting workout, every sleepless night, every doubt I tried to bury. Helena was not just an opponent, she was the symbol of everything that ever told me I wasn't good enough. I saw my mother in the hospital, her face thin but her eyes full of faith. "You're going to fly, Gabby," she said before leaving. I carried that with me. Helena came with fury, as if she wanted to erase the humiliation of the previous rounds. His punches were savage but sloppy. I dodged a hook and landed a hook on her flank, feeling the impact reverberate through my arm. She grunted but didn't stop, throwing a jab that caught my shoulder. "You don't belong here," she cried, her voice hoarse, almost desperate. I didn't respond with words, but with action. I circled the ring, keeping her in my sights, and threw a sequence. Jab, jab, hook. The last one hit her chin, and for the first time I saw her knees weaken. The crowd stood, the sound deafening. I could feel St. George's cord swinging as if my mother was there, pushing me forward. Helena regained her balance, but her eyes were different now. There was fear in them mixed with anger. "You won't beat me," she said, more to herself than to me. I smiled for the first time in the ring, a small but firm smile. "Let's see," I replied, and my voice echoed with a confidence I didn't know I had. The bell sounded, and I went back to the corner feeling the weight of the moment. Donut Sita held my face, her eyes shining. "You're showing who you are, Gabby. It doesn't stop now." I nodded, sweat running down my face, my heart full of a certainty that burned harder than fatigue. The 6th round was hell. Helena came back with a new energy, as if she had decided that she couldn't lose, not for me. His blows were precise again, each charged with a fury I could feel in the air. A hook hit my cheek and the pain exploded, making my eyes water. "Hurry up, rookie," she shouted, but I kept my feet steady even as my body begged for rest. I retreated, trying to catch my breath, but Helena didn't give me space. She cornered me against the ropes, the punches coming like hammers. An uppercut caught my stomach and I buckled, the air escaping my lungs. The crowd screamed, divided between boos and support. "Get up, Gabriela," someone shouted, and that lonely voice brought me back. I blocked the next punch and responded with a jab to her face, fast and accurate. Helena blinked, surprised, and I took advantage of the gap, throwing a hook that hit the side of her head. She staggered, and for a second the gym seemed to hold her breath. I moved forward, feeling the fire in my fists, but the gong sounded before I could continue. In the corner, Donut Sita threw water on my face, her eyes full of urgency. "You're so close, Gabby. Don't let her shake you. You're stronger than that." I nodded, feeling the weight of the cord around my neck, the memory of my mother anchoring me. I wasn't going to fall. Not now. When I returned to the ring, I looked at Helena and saw something new, tiredness. It wasn't just physical, it was something deeper, as if she was beginning to doubt herself. And that gave me the strength to continue. In the 7th round, the gym was different. The crowd, once so sure of Helen's victory, now hesitated. My blows were starting to tell a different story, a story that no one expected. Helena was still dangerous, but her movements were slower, her eyes less confident. I, on the other hand, felt every muscle in my body scream, but I also felt an energy that was coming from somewhere beyond me. "Are you tired, newbie?" Helena teased, but her voice no longer had the same poison. I didn't answer. Instead, I threw a jab that landed her nose, followed by a hook that caught her chin. She retreated, her arms raised, trying to protect herself. For the first time I saw real fear in her eyes. The crowd was on its feet, the sound of the screams mixed with the thud of my feet on the canvas. I moved forward, sensing the moment, and threw a hook that hit her flank. Helena grunted, her body hunched, and I knew it was now or never. I played a sequence, jab, hook, hook. The last one hit the nail on the head and she fell, the tarp shaking from the impact. The gym was silent for a second, a silence so heavy it seemed to swallow the world. The referee began the count, 1, 2, 3. Helena moved, trying to get up, her eyes wide, her face stained with blood and sweat. On 8, she stood, staggering but still standing. The gong sounded and I went back to the corner with my heart in my throat. Donut Sita held my face, her hands trembling. "You're doing the impossible, Gabby. Just a little longer." I nodded, feeling the cord of St. George against my skin, warm as a promise. The 8th round began with a tension that seemed electric. Helena was hurt but not defeated. Her eyes burned with a mixture of anger and despair, and I knew she would give it all she had. I was also on the edge, my body exhausted, my vision blurred by sweat. But I couldn't stop. Not now. She came hard, the punches slower but still dangerous. A jab caught my shoulder and the pain made me grit my teeth. "You won't beat me," she shouted, her voice hoarse, almost broken. I dodged the next punch and responded with a hook that hit her face. Blood flowed from her nose, staining the tarp. The crowd was going wild, screaming my name like I was a hero. I felt every scream, every applause as if it were part of me. I threw a hook, but Helena blocked it, countering with an uppercut that almost knocked me down. I staggered, but I stood tall, St. George's cord swinging like a reminder. "You're stubborn, Brazilian," Helena said, panting as we circled the ring. "But it's not enough." I smiled even with the pain. "You've said that before," I replied, and played a sequence that made her retreat. The bell sounded, and I knew that the next round would be the decider. In the corner, Donut Sita held my face, her eyes full of tears. "You're so close, Gabby. It's your time." I nodded, feeling the weight of the moment, the weight of the cord around my neck. I was ready. In the 9th round, I knew I didn't have much time. My arms weighed like lead and every breath was a battle. But I also knew that Helena was on the edge. His eyes were dull, his face swollen, his body slow. She still fought, but she was no longer the invincible champion. She was just a woman like me. "You don't deserve this ring," she said, her voice weak but still trying to hit me. I didn't answer. Instead, I moved forward, throwing a jab that she blocked, followed by a hook that landed her chin. She staggered and I saw the chance. I threw a hook with all the strength I had left, and the sound of the impact echoed through the gym. Helena fell again, her body heavy against the tarp. The referee started the count, and the gym was silent as if everyone was holding their breath. 1, 2, 3. She tried to stand up, her arms shaking, her face contorted with pain. On the 9, she fell again and the referee raised his arms, ending the fight. The gym erupted in applause, screams, tears. I stood still, my fists still raised, my chest heaving, not believing what had just happened. Donut Sita ran to the ring, hugging me tightly, tears running down her face. "You did, Gabby. You did." I looked at Helena, still on the canvas, her eyes fixed on the ceiling. For a second I felt sorry for her, but then I remembered the contempt, the laughter, the certainty that I was nothing. And he smiles. The gym was ecstatic, but for a moment, when the referee raised my arm, silence returned. It was as if the world had stopped to see me, to recognize what I had done. I, Gabriela, the rookie from Maranhão, had knocked down the invincible champion. The spotlights shone on me, and I felt the weight of St. George's cord, warm against my skin. Helena stood up, helped by her coach, her face swollen and her eyes downcast. She didn't look at me, but I didn't need it. I knew what I had achieved. The crowd was chanting my name, and I saw familiar faces in the stands. Friends from my neighborhood who had traveled hours to see me, weeping with pride. "You were amazing, Gabby," Donut Sita said, her voice breaking. She held my face as she had since I was a scared girl at practice. "Your mother is seeing this, wherever she is." I nodded, feeling the tears burn my eyes. I wanted to believe that she was there, smiling at me. The announcer announced my victory and the gym exploded again. I raised my fists, feeling the weight of the moment, the pain, the sweat, the glory. I was no longer the rookie. I was Gabriela, the fighter who silenced the world. As I was leaving the ring, I saw Helena in the opposite corner, alone, looking at her gloves as if she couldn't believe what had happened. And for a moment I felt that we were the same, two women who fought with everything they had. Days later the struggle still echoed. Newspapers printed my picture, headlines screamed my name, the newcomer who overthrew the queen. But for me it wasn't about the spotlight. It was about the cord of St. George around my neck, about my mother's voice telling me to fly, about Donut Sita believing in me when no one else did. I returned to the gym weeks later, not as a wrestler but as a spectator. The kids in the neighborhood would run up to me, asking for autographs, calling me champion. I smiled, but my heart was still beating to the rhythm of the ring. I knew that the fight with Helena was not the end, but the beginning. Helena never faced me again. I heard that she returned to her country, but I don't know if it's true. Sometimes I think of her, the way her eyes changed that night, from arrogance to respect. Maybe I taught her something just as she taught me to never give up. Today, when I put on my gloves, I feel the weight of everything I have achieved. The ring is no longer a place of fear, but of power. I am Gabriela, the girl who made the entire gym silent, and this story, this struggle, will live forever. As I lace up my sneakers and adjust the St. George's cord, I know my mom is smiling wherever she is. And I smile back, ready for the next round.